A rotting stench fills my nostrils, and I realize Ollie is behind me. "I've got to get out of this uniform, Nolan," he whispers. "I think I'm going to be sick." We wait in the main square of Somerset for Colonel Sudbury to climb atop his horse. Compared to the purebred Calican war horses we hamstrung earlier, the Senecan cavalry is pathetic. Maybe 50 nags and plow drivers, outfitted in makeshift armor and padded blankets, ridden by a small handful of Senecan soldiers and some strong sons and daughters of Somerset. Of the retinue, there are maybe a few dozen swords and a handful of revolvers, but most wield spears or aggressive-looking farm equipment. Worse, neither Levi, Ollie, nor I were allowed one of the nags for ourselves. Instead, we were ordered to find a place among the infantrymen behind the Sadsack-mounted units. The orders given to our general infantry were simple: follow the charge, mop up any stragglers, don't get killed. "Would you focus?" I turned to Ollie. "We're cooked if we can't find a way to get a horse." But he doesn't hear me, gagging and retching as he is at the stench of his stolen uniform. I turn to Levi, hoping he has a way out of our latest predicament, but he's gone. I spot him walking toward the colonel. What is he doing? Is he trying to get us killed? I start to follow Levi and grab Ollie by the shirt to indicate he should follow, but all I feel is a wet substance that sticks to my palm. "What is that?" Ollie leans in conspiratorially and whispers, "I think it's part of the former owner," then gestures to his uniform. I frantically wipe my hand across the pants of my own dead man's garment. A wave of nausea rises up in me, but I am mercifully distracted by the sound of Levi's voice. He stands in front of the colonel's horse defiantly. "Sir, with all due respect, it's a tactical mistake to leave my men and I with the infantry. We've been through Calican lines, and I can lead you to where they are weakest." The statuesque colonel looks down on Levi as though he were sitting atop a throne, considering the request. Ollie and I shift uncomfortably, waiting for him to speak. Finally, he turns his head and shouts across the way, "Major, have we any horses to spare?" After a moment, a muffled voice shouts back, "None to speak of, sir." The colonel considers this. I can see him doing the mathematics in his head, weighing the potential benefits against the losses. "Find 3 volunteers to give up their mounts. We'll need these 3 to navigate for us during the charge." Colonel Sudbury returns his attention to Levi. "You will ride out at the head of the column with us." With that, he guides his mount toward the back of the line, ignoring Levi's salute in response. As he rides past us, the colonel's stoic manner cracks, and he scrunches his face up like he's just eaten a rotten egg. He looks all around until he can't take it anymore. "What in Brother Autumn's name is that awful smell?" he asks. Ollie nervously shifts away. The horse I'm given is a true black beauty, but I can't bear to look her in the eyes. When I try, all I see are the hundreds of horses screaming for their lives in the paddock not an hour ago. A red speck to the left of my vision flits past, and I snap my gaze reflectively in that direction. My sudden movement startles Ollie. "What?" he inquires. I shake my head. I'm not sure I can even explain the sensation if I tried. Levi grabs a hold of my reins to get my attention. He leans over. "Ride behind me and follow my lead," he whispers. I nod my head, acknowledging that I understand, but he doesn't let the reins go. In a slightly louder voice, he says, "Everything I do, you do. Got it?" I nod my head again, and he finally lets the reins go. Just then, the gates that only minutes ago had barred our way into the city fly open, revealing the full scale of the battle below. The sky's colors have begun to change. No longer blanketed by the black void of a cloudy night, the hills around Somerset are barely lit with a tinge of pale blue that nips at the edges of the horizon. The thunder of cannon fire and the orange flashes it produces serve as markers for the destination of our charge. between us and there is a field of muddy obstacles, razor wire, hidden trenches and traps, and thousands of murderous Calicans. Before I have time to take it all in, I am swept up in a wave of men and horses trotting toward the gates. Ollie and I trail behind Levi, who rides next to the colonel at the front of the formation. It's different than I had expected, being among the soldiery. I'd conjured up ideas of ragged men aching for blood and screaming bloody murder as they approached the Calican invaders with swords drawn. Instead, I'm overcome with the oppressive sound of silence from my fellow Senecans. Apart from the distant battle, the only sounds are those of horses and men trailing through the muck, to their doom. Exhalations of man and beast cloud the morning air around our and our mounts' heads, giving us an ethereal look, as if we were haloed by glowing mists in the low light. A sign of the righteousness of the charge, perhaps. Or is the morning mist telling me that all here will fall as martyrs to our country? Levi is the first to intrude on this unsteady peace. "Sir, the Calican lines are weakest over yonder," Levi says to the colonel, "where their war camp is centered. There is a gap between their tents that connects the inner and outer trenches." He rises slightly in the saddle to point to an area near the forefront of the battle. The colonel grunts a response, then stands in his stirrups and withdraws his saber cleanly, slicing it skyward. He turns his mount so that he departs from the column and can address the mass of men and women before him.
"Somersetters, brave Senecan defenders, today we free our home from invasion. Today we send these Calican bastards back to the pits they came from. We ride for General Gates and the 8th column, and we will destroy anyone who stands in our way. Hail Seneca!"
With his final order, the colonel slaps his horse in the back haunches with the flat side of the blade. She rears up momentarily before taking off like a cannonball toward the inner trench. The pack takes up the cheer and breaks into a gallop. My horse naturally knows what to do, and she matches the speed of her peers. Her silken black mane flows in the wind, and her powerful legs chew up the ground before us. The sounds the beast elicits to achieve this speed genuinely makes me frightened for the animal. A coughing rattle escapes from her throat, desperate for more air to suck in. With no urging from me, she begins to pass other horses in our retinue, somehow picking up more and more speed as we clear no man's land. As the detritus and delirium of the battlefield whiz past, I wonder how these amazing creatures don't trip on the bodies of the fallen littered all around us. It's like they instinctually avoid the unseen, leaping over downed men, bomb craters, and broken machinery. By the time we are close enough to sight the inner trenches, I notice that they've been entirely abandoned. The few men who had been stationed there when Ollie, Levi, and I crossed them must have left to fortify the other trenches. I brace myself, seeing Levi's horse make a long jump over the trench. Mine follows suit, leaving me with an uncomfortable feeling in my stomach. Worse, though, is the sharp pain in my backside when my horse lands. Incredibly, she doesn't miss a step and easily keeps pace with Levi's roan mare. The Senecan charge gallops directly through the empty Calican war camp, and for the first time since starting the run, I'm able to see the chaos happening at the outer trench. Calican soldiers standing in a line at the outer trench take turns firing volleys into the oncoming horde of scarlet uniforms. Those brave souls charge valiantly, but their efforts are akin to a small child throwing a pebble against a brick building. The Senecan relieving force is large but dwarfed by the sheer volume of Calicans manning the trench. Worst of all, the bodies of hundreds of conscripts lie dead near the edge of the trench, broken and bloodied by Senecan charges through the night. None of the Senecans have spotted our approach yet. So fierce is the fighting at the outer trench as the forces of both armies collide. The fighting has devolved into a fierce melee. The men hack and slash, favoring bayonets, swords, and knives, though gouts of revolver smoke occasionally plume out from the trench. We are maybe 5 tense lengths away from the outer trench when Levi jerks hard on his reins, pulling his mare violently to the right toward the colonel. Once he cuts across the group, he grabs the reins from Colonel Sudbury's hands.
What are you doing?
The man screams at Levi, naked shock and betrayal playing across his face. In response, Levi hauls back his right hand and punches the man in the jaw. With the colonel stunned, Levi's other hand reaches down to the man's thigh, then lifts him upward and out of the saddle. The move is just enough to throw off the colonel's balance. With a scream equal parts anger and woe, Sudbury slams into the mud as the rest of his men thunder past, unable to do anything but ride out the charge. Do they realize they've been betrayed, or do they think their leader has been shot? With scarcely a grunt, Levi pulls back on both horses' reins, veering both animals off to the right, moments before the mass of men and beasts would collide. Ollie and I follow suit, and the 4 horses peel off together without any loss of speed. For a few yards, I can hear the colonel's screams as his horse drags him across the ground. Levi looks back at us, eyes wild, and I swear I see them flash red in the low light. He notices the colonel then, draws his sword and cuts the leather strap holding the man to his horse. Wordlessly, we 3 riders spur the horses faster, tearing up the ground in the camp between trenches. Only when the colonel's screams abruptly stop does Levi turn to us.
I thought I said, do what I do, he says with a grin. How come you fellas didn't grab an extra horse too?